Hello everyone, welcome to La Excellence IAS. Today, let us have a discussion about the dilution of labor laws in India. The context is that many states have diluted the labor laws, have made some changes in the labor laws amidst the coronavirus lockdown. These states include Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. So many of them have changed these labor laws by means of ordinances or executive orders so that industrial activity is promoted, employment is generated. Let us have a look at various labor laws in India. There are currently 44 central labor laws and more than 100 state labor laws. Some of them are: first one, Employee State Insurance Act. Here, the worker is given an ESI card and he will be insured against any unfortunate incidents which are happening at his workplace. Then we have Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act. According to this, there will be an institution for the Provident Fund, and all the employers who are having more than 20 employees will have to register under this act. We have got Factories Act of 1948, which mainly speaks about the occupational safety and health of the factories, in the factories. Then we have Child Labour Act, the original provisions of which included prohibition of employment of all children under 14 years in hazardous employment. This has been later amended so that all forms of employment are prohibited for children under 14 years. Then we have Industrial Disputes Act. One of the important provisions of this act is that any organization which has got more than 100 employees will have to take permission from the government so as to lay off its employees. Okay, so firing needs government's approval if the organization employs more than 100 people. Then we have got Minimum Wages Act, according to which some of the state governments as well as central government can impose minimum wages for particular sectors as well as for particular location. Then we have Bonded Labor System Abolition Act. What do you understand by bonded labor? Here, there is no formal contract between the employee and the employer, as well as the laborer, that is the employee, cannot withdraw from the employment activity even if he wishes to do so. So without payment, these people are made to work with the employers. Then we have Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act of 1970. What do you understand by contract labor? For example, if I am a banker and I want to install security personnel at all my banking outlets, what I will do is, without directly employing them, I will contact a security agency, and through this contractor or through this agency I will recruit the security employees at my banks. So these contract laborers will be having lesser privileges when compared to the direct employees. Their wages will be less. Their job security is not as secure as the direct employees. So they are facing a lot of discrimination against the direct employees. So this Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act of 1970 was brought in so as to abolish it at certain places and regulate it at certain places so as to bring them at par with the direct employees. We also have Apprentices Act of 1961, Maternity Benefits Act of 1961. It aims to provide 12 weeks of paid leave to women who have had childbirth. Okay, so 12 weeks of paid leave will be given. This has been later amended in 2017 to extend this duration to 26 weeks. Okay, so we have Maternity Benefits Act of 1961. It is applicable to all the establishments, both organized as well as unorganized, who are employing more than 10 women. Then we have Sexual Harassment of Women Employees at Workplace Act of 2013. This is also applicable to both organized as well as unorganized sector, both public as well as private sector, who all are employing more than 10 women. So what comes under sexual harassment? Any lewd remarks or showing pornography or making physical advances or even passing sexually colored remarks or request for sexual favors comes under sexual harassment. So this act covers all women irrespective of the age or the employment status. These labor laws were considered to be inadequate, and hence some of the government initiatives were brought in so as to bring reforms in the labor laws. They could be brought about either by legislative initiatives or by means of executive actions. Some of the legislative initiatives were Payment of Bonus Amendment Act, wherein the eligibility limit has been increased, also the calculation ceiling has been increased. Then we have Payment of Wages Amendment Act of 2017, which enabled payment of wages either by cash, check or by direct credit into the bank account. The Child Labour Prohibition and Regulation Amendment Act of 2016 provided that children below 14 years were prohibited in any occupation. Previously it was only in hazardous jobs. Now it has been prohibited in any occupation except helping in family businesses. Children of less than 14 years age cannot be held in any occupation. Then we have Maternity Benefit Amendment Act of 2017, which increased the paid maternity leave from 12 weeks to 26 weeks. Then we had the Employee Compensation Amendment Act, which mainly tried to rationalize the penalties so that the rights of workers were strengthened. What used to happen was workers' rights were being compromised by the low penalties. So even if the industry was penalized, even if the employer was penalized, the penalties were quite low. So as to correct this measure, the rationalization of penalties was done under the Employee Compensation Amendment Act. Then the Payment of Gratuity Amendment Act 2008 provided flexibility to the central government either to increase the ceiling limit of gratuity or in the calculation of continuous service. For example, a woman going on maternity leave for 26 weeks, this time will be counted as continuous service for the purpose of gratuity. What is gratuity? Gratuity is the amount that is paid at the end of somebody's service by calculating the service as well as the work that has been done by that person. For that, for the calculation of service purpose, maternity leave period is included. Also, the ceiling limit could be extended by the central government, and under that a notification has been released by the government so as to increase the gratuity ceiling limit from 10 lakh to 20 lakhs. Okay, so these are various measures which have been taken by the government so as to make the labor laws more labor friendly. Then some governance reforms have been initiated by means of rules as well as orders so as to enhance or ease the compliance burden of various establishments and industries. One such example is Ease of Compliance to Maintain Registers under Various Labour Laws Rules 2017. What this has done is, from 56 forms or registers required for compliance with 9 central labour laws, it has been made into just 5 common registers or forms. So, employers who used to fill 56 forms are now filling only 5 forms. This will reduce the compliance burden by various establishments. Also, a Model Shops and Establishment Bill 2016 has been circulated to all the states and union territories. What does this provide for? It provides for freedom to operate for 365 days in a year. Okay, there is no restriction on the opening time and closing time, and it also enables the employment of women during the night shifts if adequate safety provisions are existing. Also, some rules in 2018 have been given under Industrial Employment Act of 1946 with respect to fixed term employment. What is fixed term employment? So that industries could employ people to meet the fluctuating demands. That is, this is based on hire and fire principles. So if you look here, all these reforms have been done so as to ease the compliance burden of various establishments. Some other reforms include rationalization of forms and reports under certain labour laws rules. That is, under 3 central acts, the number of forms to be filled have been reduced from 36 to 12, okay, by reviewing the redundant and overlapping fields. Then there was also this provision of unified annual returns for certain central labour acts. Various labour acts are there, like Payments of Wages Act, Minimum Wages Act, Payment of Bonus Act, for which multiple returns had to be filed. This has been made unified annual returns on the Shram Suvidha portal. So these returns can be filed directly on the Shram Suvidha portal. So you can see the various changes or various reforms that have been brought in by the Ministry of Labour so as to ease the compliance burden of various industries. Now let us have a look at some of the changes which have been made recently by the states following the COVID-19 lockdown. The Uttar Pradesh government has approved an ordinance exempting the businesses from the purview of all labour laws excepting a few for the next few years. So what are the few that are exempted? That is the laws related to bonded labour, deployment of women and children, and timely payment of salaries. Excepting these three, all other laws which are relating to the industrial disputes, occupational safety, health and working conditions of workers, also those relating to the trade unions, contract workers, all will be becoming defunct for the next 3 years. These changes will be applying both to the existing businesses as well as the new factories. Some changes also have been brought by Madhya Pradesh government for the next 1000 days. Okay, these changes have been brought in for the next 1000 days, wherein there was an increase in the working hours in factories from 8 hours to 12 hours as well as from 48 hours a week to 72 hours a week. Also, registration of factories has become easier. It will be becoming in one day. Also, license should be renewed only after 10 years, not 1 year as previously. Also, majority of the provisions of Industrial Disputes Act of 1947 will be exempted for the industrial units. And contractors who are employing less than 50 workers will be able to work without the Contract Labour Regulation and Abolition Act of 1970, which we have already discussed. So this will not be applicable to the contractors who are employing less than 50 workers. You can see how the dilutions of various provisions are happening. Then in Rajasthan, they raised the working hours from 8 hours per day to 12 hours per day, and also it has amended the Industrial Disputes Act to increase the threshold for layoffs and retrenchment to 300 from 100 earlier. That is, any establishment which has only more than 300 employees will now have to seek government's approval for laying off. So it is giving more power to the employers so as to lay off the employees. Also, for the recognition of a trade union, the threshold membership has been increased from 15% to 30%. This is weakening the trade unions. In Maharashtra, the factories were asked to submit only consolidated annual returns instead of multiple returns under the various labour laws. So, the compliance burden has been decreased for the industries. In Kerala, the Chief Minister has said that the state government would facilitate new license just within a week after the application is filed if the investor agrees to complete the formalities in a year. In Punjab, Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat also, the work time has been increased by amending their factories acts. So you can see how dilution of various labour laws which have offered much protection to the labour has been done. Let us see the perspective of various stakeholders with respect to these moves which are made in the labour laws. The government feels that it can attract investment as well as encourage industrial activity. Also, it aims to increase the revenues of the states which have fallen due to the closure of industrial units during the COVID-19 lockdown. Also, because of the ease of compliance burden, there will be more transparency in the administrative procedure. Also, the government feels that they are trying to protect the existing employment and providing new employment to workers who have migrated back to their respective states. Governments have this problem of accommodating the migrant population who have come back to their respective states. So they see that this investment which will be brought in by the change in the labour laws will create new employment for the workers. But what do the labour or the labour unions feel? See, the legislative protection which has been given to them was very hard earned. They feel that this legislative protection is going off. Also, it is against the constitutional mandate of directive principles. Article 43 of the Indian Constitution says that states should strive for just and humane conditions in the employment, in the places of employment. So, suspending some of the labour laws which are linked to occupational safety and working will create inhumane conditions for work, and it is against the constitutional mandate of directive principles. Some of them even believe that this changes will bring colonial capitalism back. colonial capitalism is based on exploitation of labor. Labor were exploited for the benefit of the colonial masters. So this colonial capitalism will be brought back in the form of industrial masters. Also, it goes against the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which has been recently given by the Prime Minister of India, of which labor is an important pillar. Also, these changes are against the Constitution of India. Some of the suspended labor laws belong to the concurrent list. When a law is in the concurrent list, the laws made by the center are supreme and they cannot be overridden by the states. So, states cannot impose the changes in these laws without the concurrence of the center. So, this goes against the constitutionalism. So, this is the feeling of the labor unions. They also feel that the changes have been made without due deliberation. These people were never consulted. The International Labour Organization says that a tripartite consultation between the government as well as the businesses or industries and the trade unions is necessary for making changes in the labor laws. Okay, but these people were never consulted. There was no due deliberation in changing these labor laws. Also, some of them feel that it will lead to reduction in wages. And some say that the present changes are against the Supreme Court mandate in various cases. For example, in the case of Glaxo Laboratories versus Presiding Officer Labour of 1983, Supreme Court observed that in the days of laissez-faire, there was a contract between unequals. Unequals were the one who invested labor and the one who invested capital. So, those who invested labor were unequal or were being looked down upon in the contract. So, this necessitated statutory protection to the unequal partner in the industry, namely those who invest blood and flesh, that is the laborers. So, statutory protection was needed. But the actions which are being done by the states is diluting the statutory protection, and as a result it is dishonoring the verdict of the Supreme Court. So, the laborers as well as the labor unions feel that the changes which have been brought in are unconstitutional and they are not called for. But the industrialists or the business enterprises feel that these steps will promote the ease of doing business. It will minimize the red tapeism and the time lost in maintenance of different types of records or inspection. What does red tapeism means? It means that much of paperwork is needed which is beyond the requirement. So, it will minimize red tapeism. This will also lead to market forces playing the role in deciding the cost of labor. As the cost of labor will decrease, it will reduce the cost of production and it will make the Indian export competitive in the global market. Also, it will ensure efficiency in production. This is the perception of the industries or business enterprises. So, are these labor laws an impediment to growth? What are the arguments in favor saying that labor laws are impediment to growth? See, first of all, there are various central labor laws, around 40 of them, and nearly 200 state labor laws which are leading to an Inspector Raj. Many of them feel that who have been empowered by these laws is not the labor but only the labor bureaucracy. Also, because of the difficult legal requirements originating from these labor laws, employers or the industries, they shy away from hiring new workers because once they hire, firing them will become difficult and it requires government approvals. So, even in the organized sector, increasingly employers are employing workers without formal contracts. So, informalization of organized sector has been occurring. As a result, the growth of firms is also not happening, as well as workers are being left out in the informal sector. It is also said that there are too many laws which are complicated and not effectively implemented, because of which there is a foundation for corruption and rent seeking. Also, it is said that if India has got fewer and easier to follow labor laws, firms would be able to expand and contract depending upon the market condition, and as a result more formalization will happen. Currently, 90% of India's workers are in the informal economy. So, if formalization occurs, this will help workers because they would get better salaries as well as social security benefits. What are the arguments against the statement that are labor laws an impediment to growth? What are the arguments against it? They say that the issue is not with the laws but with the implementation, and providing for just and humane conditions of work is according to constitutional directive principles of state policy. The main problem is that there is a lack of unified and relevant law. There is multiplicity of laws, and also there is a need for wider stakeholder consultation and timely revision of these laws according to the changing circumstances. The industries as well as the society is changing, and hence these have to be revised timely. So, do these changes which are done by the state will help in achieving the assumed objective of increasing the investments and promoting industrial development? The actual desired goal of industrial development in India was equitable as well as inclusive development of all. But the changes which are brought in law may promote exploitative capitalism. That is, the industrialists may be exploiting the laborers and the employees. Attracting investment does not need a knee-jerk reform. Okay, it needs a holistic reforms. These reforms which have been brought in by the states may lag behind their desired objectives. Let us look at some of the changes that were proposed by Niti Aayog in its document known as Strategy for New India at 75, which pitched for labor reforms by codifying the multiple labor laws into 4 major codes. What are the 4 codes? They are codes on wages, code on social security, on industrial relations, and on occupation health and safety. Okay, one on wages, social security nets, industrial relations, and occupational health and safety. Let us have a look at what is the need for these reforms. These reforms are needed to increase the production and productivity, that is the efficiency of industries as well as employment opportunities in the economy in such a manner that the interest of workers are not compromised. So, these reforms should try to achieve a balance between the interest of industries on one side and of the workers on the other side. Also, the Indian laws are archaic, that is, they are very old. There are too many in number, which are often contradicting with one another, and they are badly administered. They remain extremely complicated, and there is a need to bring reform by addressing some issues like long-term contracts and dispute resolution. So, the codification will remove the multiplicity of definitions and authorities. Okay, there are multiplicity of both definitions. For example, if you take the definition of wage or definition of authority, there will be multiple definitions. So, the multiplicity of definitions as well as authorities will be decreased because of the codification of laws. At the same time, the wage security and social security of workers is not compromised. It will help in increasing women participation in labor force. Also helps in increasing job creation by streamlining the various issues which are present with the labor. And it also makes hiring easy for industries, and it would increase the ease of doing business in India. Also, the unorganized sector and as well as gig economy and platform based services will be protected by law by codification of various labor laws into 4 or few codes. In a nutshell, the aim of labor law reforms is to end red tapeism as well as Inspector Raj in India's labor market by empowering the labor and making labor bureaucracy more accountable and more responsible. The first code proposed by Niti Aayog is the Code on Wages. A Code on Wages Bill 2019 has been passed both by Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, and it subsumes the 4 laws, labor laws relating to wages, that is the Payment of Wages Act of 1936, Minimum Wages Act of 1948, Payment of Bonus Act of 1965, and Equal Remuneration Act of 1976. The key features include simplified wage definition or single wage definition, which can reduce the litigation as well as compliance cost. Also, linking the minimum wage to skills of the employee as well as to the place of employment. It seeks to universalize the provisions of minimum wages, that is, minimum wages must be universalized, and also timely payment of wages to all the employees irrespective of sector, that is, whether they are working in the organized or in unorganized sector, as well as irrespective of their wage ceiling. It seeks to universalize these provisions of minimum wages and timely payment of wages. So a national floor level minimum wage will be set by the center and it will be revised every 5 years, while states will fix minimum wages for their respective regions and which cannot be lower than the floor wage. So some minimum wage will be fixed by the center. For example, if the center has fixed 1500 rupees as floor minimum, then upon this states can increase depending upon the local cost of living there. Okay, it cannot be lower than floor wage, that is, it cannot be less than 1500 rupees. The second code, Labour Code on Industrial Relations Bill of 2019, seeks to amalgamate the Trade Unions Act of 1926 as well as the Industrial Employment Act of 1946 and Industrial Disputes Act of 1947. So main provisions are allowing the companies to hire workers on fixed term contract of any duration. This code has retained the threshold on worker count at 100 for prior government approval before retrenchment. We have already discussed that according to the Industrial Disputes Act of 1947, any firm which is employing more than 100 people will have to seek the permission of the government before retrenchment. But it has given one provision, that is, the changing of such number of employees can be done through a notification. Also, it provided for setting up of 2-member tribunal in place of 1 member for important cases and rest of them by a single member, resulting in speedier disposal of cases. Also, for those issues or for those disputes which are involving only fines as penalty, government officers will become the adjudicating officers. This is also for speedier disposal of cases. The third code, that is on Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. It was introduced in Lok Sabha and is now with the Standing Committee on Labour, which has invited public comments on it. It is applicable to all the establishments employing at least 10 workers and all the mines and docks. According to this bill, a National Occupational Safety and Health Advisory Board will be formed in place of multiple committees which are present. So it seeks to unify the advisory board. Only one institution will be doing this occupational safety and health advisory functions. It also has got some safety and welfare provisions with respect to hygienic work environment. For example, ventilation is needed, sufficient space, clean drinking water, latrine and urine accommodations, comfortable temperature humidity requirements. Also for welfare provisions like creche, canteen, first aid, welfare officer, etc. With respect to the working hours for women, women will be permitted to work beyond 7 p.m. and before 6 a.m. subject to their safety, also taking into account the holidays and working hours as prescribed by the state or central government after their consent is taken. So working hours for women have become more flexible or will be becoming more flexible if this code is changed into a bill. And then for formalization of employment, the code provides a statutory provision to issue appointment letter to every employee of the establishment, even if it is contract job. Okay, so these changes are brought in with respect to occupational safety, health and other requirements. The fourth code, the Social Security Code, the draft is under circulation for public comment. So these are the 4 codes which are proposed by Niti Aayog and are in various stages of legislation which are aiming to bring about major reforms in the existing labour laws. Having seen the perspectives of various stakeholders as well as the recommendations of Niti Aayog for the long pending labour reforms, what is the need of the hour? We understand that the complicated labour laws need to be converted into a thin labour code which is easily compliant. Okay. Also, the expediency of business and right of labour, that is the fastening of business processes and the rights of labour, both need to be balanced and they have to be revised at timely interval to address the changes in the business scenario. Also, there is a need for holistic reforms in the industries rather than just amendment of labour law, because we have certain issues with respect to the registration of property. Okay, it takes 58 days and costs around 7.8% of property's value to get it registered in India. It is at a greater cost than among OECD high income economies. Also, resolution of commercial disputes in India takes around 1445 days. So these are the other issues which are also to be addressed apart from changing or bringing about reforms in the labor law. So India is lagging in World Bank's ease of doing business ranking, mainly in enforcing contracts where it is ranking 163rd, and in registering property where it is ranking 154th. So India should aim for holistic reforms to ensure a conducive business environment. Also, we need to step up our investment in research and development because we spend only 0.7% of our GDP on R&D activities. There is a need for simplification of taxation, enforcement of contracts better, we have already discussed this point, and development of logistics and incorporation of the Indian industry into the global and regional value chains. And to secure the finances of the businesses, a vibrant banking system, NBFC system and bond market system is necessary to ensure the liquidity in the market. Also, we need to push the MSME sector, and agricultural reforms are needed for making the economic development inclusive as well as sustainable. Because as already discussed, the goal of industrial development in India is to bring about inclusive development. So, we need to achieve a balance between the interest of the industries as well as the interest of the laborers. That's all for today's discussion. Thank you.